Hey, what's up? Welcome back to another tutorial. Today we're going to create this croissant. Let's go. Okay, before we start, we need to activate Node Wrangler. So go into Edit, Preferences, Add-ons, and search for Node Wrangler and make sure it's activated. Then we'll start with our croissant shape. So press Shift A, Mash, and add a plane. Press Tab to go into edit mode and then press G, X, 1- to move it on the X-axis. Then we'll select these outer two verts and then we'll press S and Y and then 0.3 to scale it down on the Y-axis. Then we'll press Control R and then we'll add a loop cut right there in the middle and then confirm with a right click. We'll select the vert right here in the middle and then we'll press GZ 0.2- to move it down a tiny bit. Then with Control R, we'll add a loop cut, right click to confirm. Go into the menu here in the side and then number of cuts, increase it to 20. There we go. Okay, then now we'll go and add a simple deform modifier. So go into modifiers, add modify and add a simple deform. Go into bend and then press -1080. And then we'll change the axis to Z. And then now we'll select it and then press R to rotate it, X 90 to rotate it on the X-axis, and press Control A and we'll apply the rotation. And now press R X 90- to rotate it back. Press Tab to go into edit mode, press A to select all, and then press R, Y, and we'll rotate it a tiny bit on the Y-axis. Just till we see it kind of like turn here on the outsides, that it doesn't go double like you see here. Like here you see that it kind of overlaps each other, so you want to avoid that. And then I'm going to also press S and Y and I'm going to make it a bit less wide. We can make it to 0.65 if you want to follow me. And then there we go. Then we'll make our croissant a bit more chunky. Now I'm going to add a modifier and we'll add a solidify modifier. And then here we'll increase the thickness maybe to 0.06 for now. And then I'm going to press Ctrl 3 to add a subdivision modifier. And then I'm going to increase it to 4 on both because I want it to be real smooth. Now we can also go ahead and increase the thickness a tiny bit, maybe to 0.07. There we go. I'm going to make those a bit smaller and then we can go and add another simple deform modifier. And then we'll go into bend and we'll bend it on the Y-axis. And then here you kind of can bend it as much as you want. I think I'm going with 140. I think that looks it's pretty nice. It's a nice curve to it. And then I'm going to go to the first simple deform and I'm going to apply it. And then now here, I'll go into edit mode with tab and I'll select this outer vert and hold shift and select the other outer vert. And then I'll press O to activate proportional editing and then press S and Y. And I'm going to scale that in a bit to make the outside a bit more smooth. There we go, like that. And then I'm going to go ahead and look at the bottom and then I'll select those three verts, press X and V and I'm going to delete them so we have the end of it right on the side. I like how that looks. We can right click shade auto smooth as well. I'm going to increase the thickness a tiny bit more, just a touch. Okay, that's perfect. That's our croissant form. Now we'll go into the right side. If you press your tilde key, your view menu will pop up and then you can select right. I'm sure I don't have a numpad, but I'm sure if you press 4 or 6 or something, you'll come to the left or right side. If you then press tab and press Z and toggle X-ray, and then we're going to select these bottom faces here, maybe even those. And then that one, and then I'm going to press SZ0, make the bottom flat. as is at 0, and then move it up a tiny bit as well. There we go. And then we have a bit of a flatter bottom. I think that looks good. Then now if you press 7 on your numpad or through your view menu with the tilde key, we'll go into the top view and we'll make the chocolate sauce. We'll do this with a curve. So if we press Shift A, curve, and then we can just add a Bezier, it doesn't really matter. We can just move it to the side for now and then press tab to go into edit mode and then click here on the icon draw. And then we'll draw our chocolate sauce on here. We want it to be on the surface here, so select surface here in the left top, and then we can nicely draw our chocolate sauce on there. Just like that, and you can draw it any way you want. There, I think that looks pretty nice. I'm going to go to select again, select the Bezier we added earlier, press X and V to delete it. Press tab to leave edit mode, and then I'm going to object and we'll convert it to a mesh, and then to this mesh we will add a skin modifier. Press tab to go into edit mode, Z toggle X-ray, and then here you can see our mesh. So if we press A to select all, and then we can toggle X-ray again, and then Control A, and then we'll make it smaller. Maybe something like that for now. Leave edit mode, press Ctrl 3 to add a subdivision modifier, increase the render subdivisions to 3 as well. And then we can just play around with the thickness a bit. I think that looks pretty sweet. Maybe there. And then with proportional editing still active, I'm going to select this outside vert and then press Ctrl A. And then just try and make it a tiny bit thinner on the edge. And then do the same on this one. There. And we can go leave edit mode and then apply the skin modifier, and then we can right click shade auto smooth. And there we go. And maybe even increase it to 4 to make it really smooth. Okay, that's the modeling for now. Then I'm going to go to the front view, press 1 on your numpad to go into front view, and you can go for your view menu. Then we'll press Shift A and we'll add a camera, and then we're going to move this camera back. We can move it back by 3 minus, and then we'll go into camera view by pressing 0 on your numpad, go into your scene settings and change the resolution to 1920 by 1920. And then we'll select our croissant, and then first select the normal croissant, right click, then set origin to geometry, and then do the same for the sauce. And then now when we press R twice, you can kind of rotate it. I think that's a pretty nice rotation. And then we can just scale it up. And then there we go. Okay. Then we'll now add a background. So press Shift A, mesh, add a plane, press RX 90 to rotate it. And then G and Y, and we'll move it back a bit. And then we'll go into edit mode and scale it up. There we go. Just make sure it covers your whole background. And then we'll start adding some lights. We press set and go into render view, and then press Shift A, light, and add an area light. Press RX 90 and minus, and then we'll move that back a tiny bit. And then go into camera view, go into your light settings, and we'll increase the size until it covers the camera. Just like that. And then we'll change the color to FFC DA1, and then maybe the power to 100, maybe 200. Start off with 200, gives it a nice backlight. Press Shift A, light, add an area light. Press G and Z to move that up. And press period and change your pivot point to 3D cursor. And then we can press RX 45 and then RZ 45 minus. And we can look a tiny bit at our angle, and I think that is a pretty nice angle. Okay, and then we'll change our shape to disk, and we can change the size to 2. We'll change the color here to FFE 5BB, and then maybe change the power to 80, and then GZZ twice to move it a tiny bit. I'm going to move our background just back a tiny bit. Still make sure it covers the background. We'll have a look. Change my pivot point to medium point for that, and then just move it back a tiny bit, and then we'll scale it up. Yeah, that's perfect. Then we'll select our left top light. We'll press Shift D to duplicate it, and then press RZ120 to rotate it. But before that, I remember I changed my pivot point, so change it back to 3D cursor before you do this. So then Shift D, RZ120 to rotate it. Then press R and X twice, and then we can just aim at the croissant from the bottom. There, I think that looks pretty good. And then we'll change the color a tiny bit to FFF3CF. And then I want this to be a tiny bit weaker as well. And then maybe GZZ, and we'll move it back just a tiny bit. I think this will do for now. We can always play around with the lighting a bit later once we've done the shading. Let's add a light on our background, add another area light, press RX90, and then G and Y, move it towards the background. We'll change the shape to disk and the size to 3, and then we can change the power to 300 maybe, see how that looks. Might be a tiny bit too strong, 250 to start off with. We'll start off with this, and then we can always adjust it later if we want to. Okay, then we'll start adding our materials. So select the croissant, and we'll go into the shading tab. Here we'll go into our camera view, and then we'll add a new material, and we'll call this croissant. I'm going to add some nodes here, so be sure to follow me, and it's going to be awesome. So press Shift A, search, and then we'll add a separate XYZ. And then with Node Wrangler, with the separate XYZ selected, we can press Ctrl T, and it will add a texture coordinate mapping. We won't be needing the image texture, so select it, press X to delete it, and then connect the mapping. And then here, important, take the generated from the texture coordinate and add it to the mapping. Then press Shift A, search for ramp, and add a color ramp. Connect the Y to the color ramp. And then we'll add a mix color, and then we'll add the ramp to the A of the mix, and then the mix will go into the base color. And there's our gradient. And then we'll start adding some colors to our color ramp. And the dark color is going to be 8D3100. And we'll click 3 times on the plus here to 3 to add some more colors. And then for our second color, we're going to make it AE6136. And then we can change the position to just 0.1. And then the next color is going to be C86A34. And then the position is 0.3. The fourth color is going to be E2B863. With a position of 0.6, and then the dark color is going to be BA744F. There we go. Okay, and then we'll also decrease our roughness just a tiny bit to 0.3 maybe, 0.35. I think it looks pretty nice. And then we'll continue, and we'll add a noise texture. Place that right there. We'll change the scale to 10, the detail to 15, and then the roughness to 1. And then search and add an ambient occlusion. Connect the noise texture to the ambient occlusion, and then we'll add a color ramp, and then connect those to each other. And then the color ramp goes into the ambient occlusion B, into the mix color B. There we go. And then we can change the colors of our color ramp. And here we go. We'll change the dark color to E2B863. And then the white is going to be 804728, and then the position of that is going to be 0.5. I'm going to increase the roughness just a tiny bit to 0.4 maybe. Okay, then we're going to add some more texture, so press Shift A, add another noise, and then press Shift A and search for bump. Connect the noise to the bump height and then the bump to the normal. And then here we want to decrease the strength of the bump to 0.2, and then the noise texture we can scale it up to 100 and the detail to 10 and then roughness to 1. There, and then let's give on us a slight texture, but I like how it looks. Okay, and then for our chocolate sauce, we'll add a new material, call it chocolate sauce. And then we're going to change the color. Let's see, the base color is going to be 4E251C. And then the transmission is going to be 0.5. And we'll change the roughness to 0. There we go. And we'll add a nice color to our background as well. Change it to rendered view for a second. There we go. And then our background, for that material background, and we'll change our base color to E7A36C. There we go. I do think I want to maybe move these a tiny bit closer. Maybe like there, and then maybe make this one a tiny bit stronger as well. And then give it a slight yellow color. It's FFF5EB if you want to follow with me. Okay. And then now we'll start adding our world color. If we go into world settings here, change the color to BE7D3E. And then now select the croissant and we'll start adding some geometry nodes to give it a slight sugar coating that I think looks really nice. So go into the geometry nodes tab. We can go into camera view here. I'm going to stay in solid mode because it's easier for the computer to render. And I will add a new. Okay, so we'll have a group input and a group output here. And then we'll start adding some things in between here that will give us a nice sugar coated look. If we press Shift A, then we can search for distribute points on faces. Right there. And then Shift A, search for a join geometry, and then we can place that on the line there. And then we can, from input, go into the mesh there, and then from points, we'll go into a join geometry. There we go. We have 10 random points now. We're going to add some more things. First, before I forget, press Shift A, mesh, add a cube. And then press G and X, move it to the side, press Ctrl 3 and then right click shade smooth, and then call this sugar. Maybe spell it correctly as well. There, sugar. And then we will use this sugar cube to coat the croissant with. So select the croissant again. I'm going to add some more nodes here. So we can press Shift A, search instance on points. And we'll place that right in between there. Just like that. Shift A, S, object info. And then here we will select our sugar cube. You want the geometry to go into the instance and then select the sugar cube. There we go. Looks a bit big now, but we're going to fix that. We'll add a Shift A, S, and then search for a random value. We can place that there, move that to the side a bit, and then that value is going to be our scale. Okay. And then I see that my object info disconnected, so connect that again. And then for the random value, we want to change the min and the max. We'll change the min to 0.0015 and then this one to 0.002. There we go, and now we have small sugar cubes on our croissant. We only have 10 of them. Don't know about you, I'd like a whole lot more on them, so let's start with like 30,000 of them maybe. There we go. I actually think that is looks pretty good. We can look in our shading tab to see how it looks. If we go to shading, yeah, here we can see that it's looking pretty good. Just gotta add a material to it. So if we select the sugar cube, and we'll add new, and then our color is going to be FFE0C9, and then I want to change the roughness to 0, and we're going to change the transmission to 0.5 and the alpha to 0.5. There we go. And then now I'm going to go into the render settings and then change my render engine to cycles, change the device to GPU compute, change the max samples to 128, render samples to 512. I also want to go into color management and then change the look to a medium high contrast. I'm going back in layout and then maybe see if we need to change some lighting. Maybe the left top could be a tiny bit stronger. There. And then maybe the right bottom could also be just a tiny bit stronger, 75 maybe. There we go, and then all we have to do is render. Thanks for joining me. If you have questions or requests, drop them in the comment section below. I'd love to see your result, so tag me on Instagram. If you enjoyed this tutorial, feel free to like or subscribe. See you soon!